Now, I know I'm not alone. Many of you always tell me you're behind on your journal or you haven't even started sitting up for that month. I've done videos in the past where I'm like, hey, I'm always behind. I feel you. We'll catch up together. Well, catch up no more, because these are the 7 benefits of being behind in your journal. Hello, my beautiful creative souls, and welcome back to my channel for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I am sharing with you Today I'm sharing with you 7 benefits of being behind in my journal. Yeah, I said benefits. Now at this point you're probably all like, what? So let's just dive right in. Yesterday I was in my journal having a little session, filling in gaps of things I hadn't written about that had happened months and months ago, like over the summer. I was pasting in photos of things I did again over the summer during my break, and as the time of recording this, it's actually November. And upon reflecting on the session afterwards, I realized that it was probably one of the most fun journaling sessions I had had in a long time. And I feel that I can contribute most of that joy in that session to the fact that I was grossly behind on my journal. Now, first, in case you're new, let's talk about my journaling style, what I'm talking about. I do keep a separate written journal, which is not part of this conversation because it has its very own style. If you want to hear more about that, my personal journal that I do mostly writing in, I will link here my magical journals and you can go hear all about that. But for this video specifically, I'm going to be talking about my creative journal. In my creative journals, I mostly paste in photos and ephemera of daily life or big events, but mostly daily life of just things that I'm doing, things I'm enjoying, sunsets, my dog, you know, that kind of thing. I play with paint, I love stickers, I like to collage, and this all kind of gets melded together with then like little word blurbs about, you know, whatever's happening in the photograph or whatever I'm happen to be trying to document using said sticker. My journals have gone through a lot of evolution, but this seems to be the style I've stuck with for probably at least the past 4 years now, so I'm pretty safe to think that that's kind of, you know, that's my thing, for now anyway. And over the years, I have put a lot of pressure on myself to finish the journal. Now, I don't mean finish in front to back because I don't do that. I change journals whenever I feel like I need to, but more so in the fact of pages being finished, you know, all filled in, all the writing done, and things like that. And I have come to terms with the fact that that is not something that I can keep up with all the time. I will often change journals in the middle of a month, and I will have things that are half completed all throughout the journal, and that's just the way that that journal ends, and I'm okay with it. Which brings me to the first benefit is you feel less pressured to catch up. Now, at first, this is not true, of course. You can get stuck in this perpetual, like, oh my god, I need to catch up, and then catching up, and then being behind again. Trust me, I've been there. I feel you, okay? It's a real problem. But the longer I've been behind in my journal, the less pressure I feel to catch up. I think that the contributing factors to that feeling are some of the other benefits that I'm going to touch upon, but allowing yourself to not have to document everything and just letting go and being like, hey, I'm behind. From here on out, there's just journaling. We're not catching up. We're not getting ahead. We're just journaling. It's life-changing. Try it. The second benefit to being behind in your journal is it actually creates more interesting pages. Being behind in my journal and not having to document things chronologically allows me to put things together that look nice together. It also allows me to build pages as I go. I might start a page at the beginning of a journal and not finish it until the end of a journal 6 months later because I'm just adding, you know, bits and pieces here and there. When I go ahead and open a journal during my journaling session, I love flipping back and forth between all the pages and seeing what I've done before, seeing where I get sparked to add a little something, you know, spice it up. And if I wasn't behind on the pages and I did them all, you know, front to back, start to finish, I wouldn't have those layers and those extra interest that kind of pulls it all together at the end. So for me, that's definitely a benefit. The third benefit kind of goes along with that, and that is it allows me to pop in and add little bits here and there in tiny pockets of time. Therefore, I get more journaling done. That's a really long, reason, but hopefully you followed that. When I have these pages prepped and ready to go in terms of I've already slapped down a photo or I've already put down a background image, and I can just pop in really quick and stick a sticker down or write a little blurb, doodle a little star, or even just stick a photo down that I've already printed, from forever ago and be like, that looks good there. It's there. I stuck it in. And I feel that this way of journaling is not only much more realistic within the types of lives that I myself and many of you probably have, but it also accumulates. It creates this snowball effect. It allows you to see the progress when you're building layer on layer on layer, even in these tiny, 1 to 2 minute pockets of time. You end up doing a lot more journaling than if you just waited and did one giant journaling session every week or every month. It really does add up. And if you put pressure on yourself to go start to finish and to keep up with things, you don't get that benefit. You don't get that little pocket of time benefit. There's a lot more pressure, right? We don't want pressure. All right, benefit number 4 of being behind in your journal is it allows you to revisit things that make you happy when you need a little mood boost. Now, I know I'm not alone when I say that journaling makes me happy. It's definitely something that boosts my mood. It relieves stress. Even if I'm if I can just get in there and swipe a little paint or stick a little sticker down, then, life it's better. It doesn't solve your problems, but it definitely is a mood enhancer, and I have no problems with that. And one of the benefits of being behind is you can go through and kind of pick out something that's speaking to you, oh, I remember when we went on that hike this day and it was so beautiful and the sun was out and the smell of the fall air, and see, happy, right? And it allows you to kind of go back to that place and relive that memory and have those happy feelings in a time when it didn't necessarily just happen. The fifth benefit of being behind in your journal is it allows time to seem less linear. And this kind of goes along with my last tip about the mood boosting effects of revisiting events. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this topic today because the concept of time and timelines and alternate realities and all of those other things is a whole topic within itself. But distilled down, it's a fun concept to play with and to see play out within your journal, and specifically when you're behind in your journal. I used to be really worried about putting dates on everything and making sure I knew, date, time, location, where everything happened, and doing things in a chronological order. And I've gotten more lax and lax about that over the years. And in my current journal, I've actually got no linear time structure really whatsoever. I have things from current and months ago right next to each other. They're not separated by months. Most things don't have a date on them other than the year. And it's interesting to think about that because time is a man-made construct, right? And there are certain people with views who believe that there are all timelines happening all the time. So all time exists within the same time. Everything's happening simultaneously, which is a little hard to wrap your brain around, especially when we think linearly, right? It's how is this all happening? But my way of interpreting this concept is in line with the idea of energy, right? Energy or matter cannot be created nor destroyed. It can be changed, but it can't be destroyed. So if we think about the energy, the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings, the experiences around a certain experience, those feelings, that energy connected to that event doesn't go away. This is especially evident in memories, right? When we're revisiting things, we get that same sort of excitement or that same sort of feeling when we revisit the thoughts of that experience. And that's because we're tapping back into that line of energy that existed around that particular event. So it's fun to actually think that you could almost time travel via your journal because you are revisiting that specific moment in time with that specific energy around that specific event. Now, this isn't so fun to think about if you're revisiting not so great memories, but in my creative journal, I try to focus mainly on, positive events and things. Time traveling essentially to these feelings is a lot of fun, and it's something that I wouldn't experience if I wasn't behind in my journal, because when that event is so recent, you still have those lingering feelings anyway, so you're not really revisiting it, you're just kind of prolonging it a little. Whereas I feel when you go back to it, it's got that same kind of oof, that the Anybody with me? Yeah? No? Okay. Benefit number 6 kind of goes along with that. It allows you to be more intentional and reflective when you are revisiting events. I find that my journaling is much deeper and more meaningful and more reflective when I'm journaling so far in hindsight. And this is a type of journaling that I honestly wouldn't do if it wasn't for the fact that I am behind in my journal. In my written journal, I don't really journal about events from the past unless something kind of tickles that memory to bring it up. But when I'm in my creative journal, I usually have some type of photo or ephemera that's prompting that. For example, when I first started my current journal, I had just gone on a trip to Vermont with my dad. It was right after I took my sabbatical. We were there for 3 days. I had some, photos and ephemera from it, and I put them in my journal. Now, if I had journaled right after that experience, I probably would have journaled about, the Airbnb we stayed in and the restaurants we ate at and the little things we did and my anxiety about being a passenger in a vehicle and driving through cities and kind of all of those little minute details, right? Which there's nothing wrong with that. However, because I waited months, in fact, to put the writing down next to those photos and things, my journaling ended up being a lot more meaningful, because looking back on the trip in hindsight, the things that stood out to me the most were the bonding experience that I got to have with my dad that I wouldn't have had otherwise, and some really important conversations that we got to have that, again, would not have happened otherwise, and how proud I was of myself for taking the road trip with him and getting over my anxiety, not getting over, but facing my anxiety around driving on highways and through cities and things, visiting places I had never visited before, and just lots of personal reflections and deeper, more meaningful things about me and my evolution as a person, which to me is way more beneficial to revisit than the name of the place that we stayed. Now, that's not to say I don't like to incorporate all of the things together, but to me, it's a layer of journaling that I wouldn't do without being behind in my journal. And at this point, I think it's one of the most impactful aspects of my journaling practice. The 7th and final benefit for being behind in your journal is it allows you to be more present. We hear a lot in the spiritual and mental health community about being mindful and being present and taking time to enjoy what you're doing, but it's easier said than done and can be a lot harder when you're journaling. It's kind of like a catch-22. It's like, do you be mindful and not document the thing? Or do you document the fact that you were, actually out there enjoying and living your life? But since I don't journal chronologically and I'm always behind, it has freed up this space to not journal about certain things or to not always journal about certain things. A lot of different things can happen over periods of time that we don't necessarily need to document over and over again, right? We don't have to take a picture every time. We don't have to do a story every time. Examples of things like this would be date nights with my husband. Once a month, we really like to go to this restaurant called Kobe, and we get sushi, and we always go shopping at TJ Maxx after, and it's really fun. It's kind of our one monthly away from the house thing that we do together. But instead of having to pull myself out of that moment and take photos of everything and collect all the ephemera, I allow myself to enjoy that. And instead of specifically documenting each and every time we go, I can just slap a little sticker in my journal, you know, a little sushi sticker, cut out a little magazine thing, add some maybe TJ Maxx tags of something that I bought, and just write a little blurb about what we did and call it good. Because there's nothing in particular about one of those experiences that's so much better than the other one. So just be documenting the same thing over and over again, and be behind on documenting the same thing over and over again. But rather the cumulative, kind of back to that energy stream, the cumulative energy and times behind doing these date nights can all be kind of tapped back into via the one sticker and the blurb. This also goes for things like hikes. I do really like to take pictures of nature, and I love to take pictures of us when we are hiking, but I don't have to do it every time because I'm not documenting every time, especially for kind of doing the same hike, right? Unless something specific that time happens, it's not really relevant, and I'm just creating more work for myself, right? But being behind allows me to still get the benefit of those memories, to still enjoy them, to still document them, but to spend most of those experiences engulfed in the actual experience that there is to be had, rather than worrying about capturing every little moment of it and remembering every little detail in order to put it in my journal later. Because the whole point is to live your damn life, not to journal about it. And that, my beautiful creative souls, brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I know it is precious. Please let me know in the comments below your thoughts. I'd love to have a healthy discussion about anything that I've said today. Did I give you some food for thought? Are you behind? Are you somebody who's always ahead? Are you sitting there going, I'm a daily journaler, so this doesn't apply? Let me know in the comments below. Everybody's journey is so different and so unique, and I love hearing about all the different perspectives. So I look forward to chatting with you, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, guys. Bye.